Welcome to the Assassin's Creed Timeline Part 3, the Levantine Brotherhood. In Part 2, we join the last Egyptian Magi, Bayek, on a quest for revenge, as he hunted down the Order of the Ancients and established an organized Brotherhood of Assassins, ending with the Brotherhood spreading through the region, and the Order of the Ancients infiltrating a new religion, rebranding themselves as the Templars. As the Templars spread their numbers, trying to take full control over the lands of the Middle East, the Assassin Order had already spread from Egypt and Rome through the rest of the region. In the year 1162 CE, from one of their main fortresses in Persia, the assassin Al-Mualim was sent into Syria to establish a branch of the Brotherhood. He settled for a location in the city of Masyaf, and for over a decade recruited and trained his own group of assassins, establishing the Levantine Brotherhood, and becoming the leading branch of the order. In the year 1165 CE, a baby named Altair ibn al-Ahad was born to a Christian mother and a Muslim father. Altair's mother passed away in childbirth, leaving his father Umar to raise him alone within the walls of the Assassin Brotherhood. As the years passed, the Third Crusade continued as the Crusader Forces of Richard the Lionheart and the Saracen armies of Saladin clashed, with the Assassins attempting to end the conflict by assassinating targets on both sides. In the year 1176 CE, in retribution for two separate attempts on his life, Saladin led his forces to Masyaf and laid siege to the Assassin headquarters. After fighting off the attack, Al-Mualim gathered with a group of his master assassins, and they decided to send one of their number into Saladin's tent to leave him a message, showing him how vulnerable he truly was. The Brotherhood sent Altair's father, Umar, to complete the mission, but the assassin was almost caught and forced to kill one of Saladin's generals and escape. The next morning, Saladin withdrew from Masyaf in fear for his life, and left his uncle and second-in-command in charge, Shihab al-Din. Shihab revealed to the assassins that one of their own, a man named Ahmad, was held captive and had revealed that Umar was the man who'd infiltrated the camp. He offered to leave peacefully only if the assassins gave up Umar for execution. If not, they would execute Ahmad and continue attacking the Brotherhood's castle. With no choice left, Umar agreed to give himself up in exchange for Ahmad's safety and asked Al-Mualim to raise his son Altair and teach him the ways of the assassins. Al-Mualim agreed to take the boy in as the 11-year-old Altair screamed for his father. Umar was taken by the Saracens and beheaded. And after Umar's death, the Saracen army left Masyaf, and Ahmad lived with the guilt of having betrayed one of his assassin brothers. Eventually, his grief and guilt became so intense that he apologized to Altair for causing his father's death and slit his own throat in front of the boy, leaving his own son, Abbas, fatherless. Altair immediately ran to Al-Mualim and told him what happened, and he told the boy not to tell Abbas the truth about his father's suicide, since he believed it would shame the boy's family name. Al-Mualim took the body, covering up his death, and told the other assassins that Ahmad had run away from the order in his grief. Eventually, the truth surrounding the death of Abbas's father would eventually drive him to develop an intense hatred for Altair. But in their youth, Al-Mualim trained the two boys side by side, and despite his direct orders, Altair eventually told Abbas how his father Ahmad had died. Outraged and believing that Altair was trying to shame his father, Abbas attacked him and tried to take his life during a training exercise, and Al-Mualim punished both boys by locking them up in a cell for a month. And eventually, Altair, in an effort to comfort Abbas, told him that he had lied to him. After being freed, the two boys continued their training, with Altair gaining the rank of assassin as Abbas was forced to train for another entire year, fueling his secret hatred for Altair further. In 1189 CE, the Templar Order discovered the Masyaf hideout, with the aid of a double agent named Haras, who had bought into the Templars' vision of mankind and betrayed them. During the attack, a 24-year-old Altair rode into the village rescuing a fellow assassin, then made his way to the fortress while killing Templar soldiers and saving civilians caught in the middle of the fighting. After arriving at the fortress, Altair discovered the traitor Haras having executed several of his assassin brothers and holding Al-Mualim hostage, but no obstacle would keep Altair from saving the man that had raised him and avenging the assassins that were lost.
You put too much faith in the hearts of men, Altair. The Templars know the truth. Humans are weak, base, and petty.
No. Our creed is evidence to the contrary.
Perhaps I am not wise enough to understand, but I suspect the opposite. That I am too wise to believe such rubbish.
Due to his courageous acts, Al-Mualim granted Altair the rank of Master Assassin. A year later, while returning home to Masyaf from a mission, Altair found a wounded assassin guard who told him the Templars were attacking the village near the citadel of Alep. This leads us to the year 1190 CE, and the events of Assassin's Creed Altair's Chronicles. After learning that a Templar leader called Lord Basilisk had ordered the attack on the village, he met with Al-Mualim to inform him, and the assassin mentor told Altair the Templars were looking for an artifact called the Chalice, which could bolster the power of whatever faction held it. During his search for the Chalice, Altair met a rich merchant named Tamir, who had been working with the Templars, and Tamir divulged everything he had heard about the Chalice, telling Altair that it was found in the desert within a ruined temple that could only be accessed by collecting 3 keys. He traveled through the region searching for information on where to find the keys to the temple before the Templars could, and tracked the first one down to a circus performer called Fajera that sent one of the other circus performers after him. After defeating the giant man, Altair chased her down and she revealed that she was testing him and gave him the first key. The second key was in the hands of a man who was being interrogated in Templar Hospital. After freeing the man, Altair requested the key, but he suspected that he was secretly a Templar. But his missing left ring finger proved that he was a member of the Brotherhood, and the man gave him the second temple key. The third and final key was with the Templar leader himself, Lord Basilisk, in Jerusalem. Discovering that Basilisk was present at a local party, Altair traveled through a secret passage to get inside, confronting him face to face. Altair defeated him, but let him live in order to steal his key and quickly escape. But only one thing remained to do. He still didn't have the location of the temple, and the map was being hidden inside a tower run by Templars. At the top of the tower, Altair faced a high-ranking Templar who tried to convince him to join the order, but the young assassin would never betray the Brotherhood that raised him and taught him everything he knew. And after killing the Templar, he took the map and traveled to the fabled Temple of Sand, where the Chalice was hidden away. And just like the map showed him, there was a shrine dedicated to the Chalice, but no Chalice present. Encountering Lord Basilisk alive and well, he explained to Altair that the Chalice wasn't actually an object, it was a woman. As Altair defeated his guards, the young assassin escaped as the temple began collapsing around him as he fled an approaching sandstorm. And after another brief encounter with Basilisk, the Templar leader gave Altair 2 pieces of information in exchange for his life: the location of the Chalice in Jerusalem, and he also revealed a Templar plot to poison the water supply of the city of Acre. Sparing Basilisk once again, Altair rushed to Acre to stop the poisoning of the water, and found the city under siege, burning and invaded by Templar forces. He made his way through the camps disguised as one of their own, freeing prisoners and destroying their siege equipment until he faced their commander, assassinating him, ending the siege, and escaping by launching himself over the barricades with a catapult. In Jerusalem, Altair found the Templars kidnapping the young woman known as the Chalice, and recognized her as a childhood friend named Ada. Now the mission was personal, and Altair was determined to rescue her. He tailed the group that was escorting her, eventually dispatching them and taking Ada into the sewers to get out of the city. The Templars believed the exaggerated rumors that she had a mysterious power that could unite the factions of a war, and Ada told Altair that a high-ranking assassin had betrayed the order and told the Templars where she was located. And when Altair found out the identity of the traitorous assassin, he was shocked. A man named Harash, who was second in command of the Brotherhood, only second to Al-Mualim himself. Ada refused to accompany Altair any further while Harash was still alive, and promised that she would go with him once he was dealt with. After tracking down Harash, Altair witnessed the assassin plotting with the Templar captain with his own eyes, confirming Ada's claim. Angered by his betrayal, Altair attacked him and killed him after a duel. Then he returned to Ada, but discovered that she had been taken and a Templar army stood before him and Lord Basilisk. Finally realizing that it was a mistake to let him live to begin with, Altair fought his way through the Templar numbers with an unstoppable bloodlust and made his way to the docks, spotting Ada being escorted onto a Templar ship. After boarding a nearby vessel to reach her, he was confronted by Basilisk in a final confrontation, and this time he refused to let him live. After a burning ship blocked his path, Altair jumped into the water, swimming back to the docks and watched the ship carrying Ada swimming away, promising that one day he would find his childhood friend and free her. This concludes the events of Assassin's Creed, Altair's Chronicles. For the next couple of months, Altair searched for Ada and found her location. After attempting her rescue, he only found tragedy. The young woman had already been deemed useless by the Templars and killed. After recovering her body and laying her to rest, Altair hunted down everybody who was involved in her death, though it was an empty act that brought him no joy. The young assassin's faith in the Brotherhood was shaken to its core. The creed they lived by didn't help save Ada's life, and they were betrayed multiple times already by members of their own Brotherhood. Altair returned to Masyaf, now a merciless, brash, and reckless assassin that would operate by his own means. By the following year, Templars had discovered the fabled Temple of Solomon, hiding the immensely powerful Ark of the Covenant, but was in reality an apple of Eden, hidden away by Moses thousands of years ago. At this point in history, the assassins had no knowledge of the secret history of humanity or the Isu and their technology, and Al-Mualim sent a 26-year-old Altair and his assassin brothers Malik and Kadar to retrieve the artifact from Templar hands. This takes us to the year 1191 CE and the events of the original Assassin's Creed. Finding their way near the temple, the assassins found an old man and Altair killed him to avoid being discovered, leaving Malik disgusted with his disobedience of the first tenet of the creed, stay your blade from the flesh of an innocent.
Indeed, he'll teach you how to disregard everything the Masters taught us.
And how would you have done it?
I would not have drawn attention to us. I would not have taken the life of an innocent. What I would have done is follow the creed.
Nothing is true. Everything is permitted. Understand these words. It matters not how we complete our task, only that it's done.
But this is not the way
My way is better.
I will scout ahead. Try not to dishonor us further.
Altair, no longer believing in the creed, regularly twisted its primary guideline. Nothing is true, everything is permitted, which didn't actually give assassins permission to do as they please. The phrase was meant to be a commentary on how fragile society is and how responsibility must be taken for actions. After finding the Templars taking the Ark, Altair spotted one of the Grand Masters of the Templar Order, Robert de Sab. Breaking the second tenet of the Assassin's Creed, hide in plain sight, Altair recklessly attacked him head-on. Then he was thrown from the temple, forcing Malik and Kadar to face the Templars alone, and he escaped, returning to Masyaf to report his failure to Al-Mualim.
Ah, he returns at last.
Abbas.
Where are the others? Did you ride ahead hoping to be the first one back? I know you are loath to share the glory. Silence is just another form of a sin.
Have you nothing better to do?
I bring word from the Master. He waits for you in the library. Best hurry. No doubt you're eager to put your tongue to his boot.
Another word and I'll put my blade to your throat.
There'll be plenty of time for that later, brother.
While reporting what happened, Malik returned wounded but alive, but his brother Kadar had died during the encounter because of Altair's irresponsibility.
Malik,
I still live at least.
and your brother?
Gone. Because of you!
Robert threw me from the room. There was no way back. Nothing I could do.
Because you would not heed my warning! All of this could have been avoided! And my brother would still be alive! Your arrogance nearly cost us victory today.
Nearly?
Malik was successful in retrieving the Apple of Eden and returned it to Al-Mualim, and at that moment they were informed that the Templars found their way to Masyaf and were attacking the village. Altair and several other assassins defended the village, engaging the Templar forces and were quickly overpowered, retreating back to the assassin fortress, and Robert de Sab threatened Al-Mualim and demanded that the artifact be returned to him. While he was distracted, Altair snuck around the Templar army and unleashed a supply of logs on the soldiers, crushing many of their number and driving them away from the fortress. Although Altair had just saved the assassins from an onslaught of Templars, the situation at Solomon's temple had to be addressed. Altair had repeatedly broken the tenets of the creed, was responsible for the death of Kadar, and indirectly led the Templars to their front door for his actions. As punishment, Al-Mualim stabbed Altair in the stomach in front of the entire order. After waking up from his punishment, Altair questioned how he could be alive, and Al-Mualim told him that Altair had only seen what he wanted him to see. Unknown to him, his mentor had actually used the power of the Apple of Eden to create the illusion that he had been stabbed. To further his punishment, Altair was stripped of his possessions and his rank as Master Assassin, bringing him down to the rank of a novice. But Al-Mualim gave the young assassin a chance to redeem himself and prove that he was still worthy of the Brotherhood. He was given a list of 9 names, men from the ranks of both the Saracen and Crusader forces, and secretly all leaders of the Templar Order working together. Al-Mualim commanded that these 9 men had to die to bring peace to the region. If Altair succeeded, his own life would be spared, and he would once again be a respected member of the Assassin Order. After riding to Damascus to begin his mission, Altair had to relearn the ways of the assassins that he hadn't practiced in a long time, gathering detailed information on his target before acting, eavesdropping on conversations, pickpocketing letters and maps. The assassins were meant to act in the shadows until it was time to strike, instead of rushing to face a target, and Altair was forced to deliver the information he uncovered to Malik, who was now leader of the assassin operations, and asked permission before initiating an assassination. Eventually, Altair uncovered the location of his first target, a man named Tamir, an arms dealer who ruled the largest market in Damascus with an iron fist.
Without me, you would still be charming serpents for coin. All I asked in return was you fill the orders I bring you, and you say I asked too much?
Peace, Tamir. I meant no insult.
Then you should have kept your mouth shut.
No! Stop! No! Stop! Must learn your place!
Think twice before you tell me something cannot be done.
A few coins, please.
With the skills he learned as a youth slowly returning to him, Altair slowly tracked down the names on the list and executed them with efficiency. Garnier de Naplouse, leader of a Templar infirmary who was exiled from France for the cruel and inhumane treatment of his patients, as he experimented with different cures on them. Talal, a Saracen slave trader based in Jerusalem, who was sickeningly convinced he was helping less fortunate people. The rich merchant Abul Nuqad, who hated the poor and saw them as a blight on the land, believing them to be the source of everything wrong in the world, and after hosting a lavish party and poisoning all the guests with wine, Abul met his end on Altair's blade. William of Montferrat, a crusader in the army of King Richard I of England, a man Al-Mualim accused of stealing needed supplies from civilians, but William denied this claim, stating that he was stockpiling supplies to be distributed during times of hardship, leaving Altair confused and implanting a seed of doubt in his mind. Maybe the evil deeds of some of his targets were exaggerated by his mentor. He also killed Maj ad-Din, a power-hungry Templar that took control of the city of Jerusalem and acted as its judge, jury, and executioner. Master Sibrand, a paranoid Templar knight that was constantly vigilant since the deaths of his fellow Templars. Jubair al-Hakim, Saladin's head scholar in Damascus, who decided to burn every book in the city in an effort to wipe out its history. And his final target was Robert de Sab, Templar leader he faced directly in the Temple of Solomon. Before setting off to end his hunt, Altair expressed his apologies to Malik about his brother's death, and Malik refused his apology, telling Altair that he was a changed man that didn't need to apologize for the actions of his former self. He tracked down Robert, but the Templar Grand Master had already anticipated the assassin would strike, and was ambushed by Saracens and Templars. But Altair noticed something was different about Robert. He heard the man yelling orders to his men, but to his shock, realized that the voice coming from him was that of a woman. After fighting off the guards, a curious Altair confronted the decoy and removed her helmet, revealing the woman underneath, a Templar named Maria Thorpe, who would soon play a pivotal role in Altair's life.
You have laid waste to our plans. First the treasure, then our men. Control of the Holy Land slipped away. But then he saw an opportunity to reclaim what has been stolen, to turn your victories to our advantage.
With no reason to kill her, Altair spared her, and learned that Robert de Sab was actually on his way to meet with the Saracens, in a plot to unite them and the Crusaders against the Assassin Order. Altair reached the location of King Richard's camp, the leader of the Crusader Forces, and accused of making an attempt on the king's life. But Altair denied this claim and told the king that his lieutenant Robert planned to betray him. Giving the king all the information he knew on the Templar Order infiltrating the Crusader forces, the king felt the claims were outlandish, but decided to leave the fates of Altair and Robert in the hands of a higher power, letting the two men face each other in combat.
So be it. To arms, assassin!
With his dying words, Robert revealed a deep, shocking secret. There weren't 9 men that helped track down the Apple of Eden. There were 10. And he informed the shocked assassin that the 10th man was Al-Mualim himself. Altair realized that this must be the truth. Al-Mualim had so much information of all the names of the targets, their locations, their motives. Al-Mualim was a Templar, and had used Altair to wipe out the rest of the Templar leaders in an effort to keep the Apple of Eden for himself. Rushing back to Masyaf to confront Al-Mualim with the truth, Altair returned to a nightmare. The villagers were in a mindless trance, and his assassin brothers attacked him instantly without saying a word. Al-Mualim was using the Apple of Eden to control their actions and bend their thoughts to his will. Malik and several other assassins were unaffected, likely due to hybrid Isu and human DNA in their ancestry, and aided Altair, distracting their hypnotized brothers while Altair came face to face with his old master.
You lied to me. Called Robert's goal foul when all along it was yours as well.
I've never been much good at sharing.
You won't succeed. Others will find the strength to stand against you.
And this is why, so long as men maintain free will, there can be no peace. Water never turned to wine. It was not the machinations of Iris that spawned the Trojan War, but this! Illusions! All of them!
What you plan is no less an illusion. To force men to follow you against their will.
I will miss you, Altair. You were my very best student.
Altair resisted the effects of the apple and plunged his blade into Al-Mualim, holding the man that had raised him as he uttered his final words, challenging Altair's strength of character and ability to resist the temptation of using the apple. As Altair reached the Apple of Eden, it projected an image of the Earth, showing the locations of other pieces of Eden, and Malik appeared with his assassins, mesmerized by what they were looking at. This concludes the events of the original Assassin's Creed. After Al-Mualim's death, peace did not return easily. The assassins came back to their normal selves, freed of their master's mental slavery, but Abbas and some other assassins doubted Altair's version of what happened, and thought he might have killed Al-Mualim to take his place as mentor.
What has happened here?
Our mentor deceived us all. The Templars corrupted him.
Where is your proof?
Walk with me, Abbas, and I will explain.
And if I find your answers wanting,
I will talk until you are satisfied.
But before bringing the Order back together, Altair needed to ensure Al-Mualim was dead, and not simply another illusion, and decided to take his body to burn, which was something that was frowned upon within the Assassin Order, causing more distrust.
Altair! No!
I must know that he cannot return.
But this is not our way. To burn a man's body is forbidden.
Defiler!
Hear me out. This body could be another one of Al-Mualim's phantoms. I must be certain.
Lies! All your life, you have made a mockery of our creed. You bend the rules to suit your whims, while belittling and humiliating those around you.
Restrain him!
Did you not hear him? Al-Mualim is bewitched.
As Abbas took advantage of the situation, pushing Altair off the side of the cliff and stealing the apple. Several other assassins attacked Altair as he refused to hurt any of them, disarming them as they struck. Abbas appeared in the nearby watchtower wielding the Apple of Eden, but it was too much power for him to control. It was starting to drain his life force and that of the nearby assassins. Altair rushed the tower, climbing it and taking the apple from Abbas as he pleaded for forgiveness. In the aftermath of the skirmish, Altair stayed true to the creed, ensuring that none of the assassins who attacked him were killed or harmed. Over time, he convinced the Brotherhood of the truth and proved his ability to lead the Order, winning the hearts and minds of his brothers and becoming the new master of the Levantine Brotherhood of Assassins, and promoting Malik as his right-hand man. After earning the respect of his order, Altair began studying the apple, listening to the secrets it held, and started to write a personal journal called the Codex that detailed his views, his history, and the secrets revealed to him by the apple. He also reformed the Assassin Order drastically, changing their methods and rituals. For example, he found that the removal of the left ring finger started by Bayek was a useless and archaic ritual, and he removed the prohibition against using poisons for assassinations, redesigning the hidden blade with the ability to dispense poison and the ability to shoot small projectiles at fast speeds. 1 month after Al-Mualim's death, Altair discovered the Templars were gathering in the harbor in Acre, and took a squad of assassins to attack the port, but when he arrived, most of the Templar forces had already left and found a familiar face. This takes us to the events of Assassin's Creed Bloodlines, also in the year 1191 CE. Altair found Maria, the woman that had acted as a decoy to the previous Grand Master, Robert de Sable. After eavesdropping, he heard the Templars had headed to the island of Cyprus, under the orders of the new Grand Master of the Order, Armand Bouchard. When the soldiers left, Altair tried speaking with Maria, but she attacked him, and he was forced to hold her down at knife point, questioning her. Since she failed stopping Altair from reaching Robert, Maria had fallen out of favor with the Templar Order and blamed Altair for destroying her life. Taking her hostage, he forced her to go to Cyprus with him to unravel the Templar plans. After arriving in Cyprus, Altair met with a man named Alexander, the leader of the resistance against the Templars in the city, who became his primary ally and took Maria under his protection. Alexander gave Altair information on the Templar whereabouts and informed him that they were located in the local castle, where the Templar captain Frederick the Red trained his men, and Altair infiltrated the castle and confronted Frederick the Red, killing him, and replacing him with Osman, a Templar turncoat that was spying for the Cyprus resistance, and Osman had knowledge that the Templars were interested with some sort of archive located on the island, and Altair returned to the resistance safe house, finding it surrounded by Templars and set aflame. He escaped the area and found the Grand Master, Armand Bouchard, giving a speech about Frederick's death, threatening the local populace and demanding to know who killed Frederick. Osman expressed to Bouchard that his tactics may not be the best idea, and he paid the price.
Bouchard, the citizens are already restless. Perhaps this is not the best idea.
If anyone else has objections, I invite you to step forward.
Maria appeared shortly after, having escaped the resistance, and warned her master that an assassin was on the island. But the Templar, knowing this was her second escape from an assassin, mistrusted her and had her locked away. But Altair tracked her down and rescued her. Maria, enraged at her situation, swore to kill him, and he took her back to Alexander, alive and well after the burning of the safe house. But Bouchard had taken Maria's warning seriously and fled to a city on the northern coast called Kyrenia, where Altair followed, taking Maria with him. They found shelter on a ship, and during the trip, the two spoke about several things: Maria's childhood in England, and the assassin way of thinking versus the Templar ideology. When they arrived, Altair cut her bindings, letting her loose, and pirates recognized him as the wanted assassin and tried to take the two of them prisoner. Maria saw her chance for escape, kicking him off the ladder and fled. Altair avoided the pirates and eventually found Maria, having been rescued from the pursuing pirates by more resistance soldiers, leaving her again, this time with the group's leader Marcos. A local ally of the Templars and a leader of a group of religious zealots called Moloch, also known as the Bull, put a price on Altair and Maria's heads, sending his fanatics to find them. Maria realized that her bonds to the Templar Order were broken, and she had to trust Altair in order to leave Cyprus with her life, and she personally knew the Bull, telling Altair where to locate him. The assassin tracked him down and ended the threat.
Hit me! Does God fill your heart with fear?
Your tyranny ends here, Moloch.
No, it will continue beyond me and you, and for sure, it will outlast us all.
Altair returned to the safe house, and Marcos informed him that the Templars had found them, and took Maria along with several resistance members. Working together with the resistance, Altair scouted the city, freeing several of their captured members, and was told by one of the prisoners that Maria had been taken away by the Bull's twin sons, Shalim and Shahar, major figures in the Templar Order. And following Maria's trail, Altair found her in an argument with Shahar, who quickly became aggressive with her. Springing to action, Altair called out to Shahar, and his twin brother Shalim appeared to challenge both of them in a duel. but Maria fled, leaving Altair to fight on his own, eventually killing both of the bull's sons and ending their threat. After their death, the Templar presence was clear from the city of Kyrenia, and he returned to the safe house, discovering a note from Alexander requesting his presence at a specific location. And when Altair arrived, he found his friend murdered. An enraged mob of citizens called for Altair's life, believing that he had killed Alexander, and with no choice, Altair took the Apple of Eden out and used it on the mob to convince them that Bochart and the Templars were their enemies. As the mob dispersed, Maria appeared, killing Alexander's killer, and telling Altair the archive the Templars were looking for was right underneath them. Maria left to find the entrance to the archive while Altair fought off the Templars coming after them. After the battle, Altair made his way inside the structure and witnessed Maria and Bochart fighting, ending with the young woman being knocked unconscious. And the Templar Grand Master revealed that they had purchased the entire island of Cyprus long ago from King Richard to divert attention away from their efforts. While Altair was in Kyrenia, they had taken the mysterious contents of the archives and shipped them away from the island to safety. Taunting the assassin's failure, the Templar Grand Master attacked.
The world is more complicated than most dare admit. And if you, assassin, if you knew more than how to murder, you might understand this.
Save your lecture on virtue for yourself, and die knowing that I will never let the Apple of Eden fall into any hands but my own.
Keep it close, Altair. You will come to the same conclusions we did. In time.
Altair woke Maria up from being knocked out, and to hide the evidence of the archive's existence, the Templars began shelling the structure as Maria and Altair ran to escape. And after escaping, Maria stood by Altair and officially announced her retirement from the Templar Order, and he expressed a desire to travel the world, expanding the role of the assassins and learning as much about the Apple of Eden as he possibly could. With her previous life over, Maria decided to accompany him on his travels, and this concludes the events of Assassin's Creed Bloodlines. Through the next couple of years, Altair continued studying the Apple of Eden, peering into it often, and gaining extensive knowledge of how the world works and where humanity really came from. The island of Cyprus was free from Templar influence, and with the permission from the Resistance, Altair established an assassin base of operation there to protect any other secrets it may hold. After spending much time together, Maria and Altair married in the year 1195 CE. That same year, upon returning to Masyaf, the couple had their first son, Darim. 2 years later, in 1197 CE, their second son Seth was born. As his children grew, he taught them the ways of the assassins, and worked to spread the order through some of the major regions of the Old World. In the year 1206 CE, a Mongolian warlord called Genghis Khan, wielding one of the powerful Swords of Eden, founded the Mongol Empire across Asia and established himself as the ruler. By the year 1217 CE, a 52-year-old Altair had deduced that Genghis Khan's rise to power was due to the Sword of Eden he possessed. Knowing this weapon was too dangerous to be kept in the hands of a tyrant, Altair traveled to Mongolia with his wife Maria and eldest son Darim, now 22 years old, while his younger brother Seth was left behind to care for his own wife and 2 daughters. The assassins knew the warlord had to be killed and the Sword of Eden taken. Before leaving on the long journey, Altair placed Malik as the temporary head of the order in his absence, as he made his way into Mongol territory and began working with the Mongolian Brotherhood of Assassins to fight Genghis Khan. Although the Mongolian Brotherhood was small, they were successful in slowing down Genghis Khan's hordes on multiple occasions. The assassin Kulangal was assigned to assist Altair and drafted several plans to assassinate the tyrant. Eventually, they located Khan's camp, and Altair chose to infiltrate the camp and assassinate him himself. But in his older age, the assassin had lost some of his skills and accidentally alerted the Mongols. As Genghis Khan began fleeing on horseback, Kulangal was able to rescue Altair, and having spotted Genghis Khan escaping, used his bow to shoot an arrow into his horse, causing the warlord to fall. And Altair's son Darim time, was successful in delivering the final blow, shooting the warlord with a crossbow, and ending his reign. Successful in their mission, the family returned home to Masyaf in the year 1228 CE and found the Brotherhood in chaos. Instead of Malik being in charge like Altair had left him, he found a council was formed to rule over the Brotherhood, with Abbas, the man who had hated him growing up, as their leader, and found it filled with the weakest-minded assassins in the Brotherhood. Under the leadership of Abbas, the Order became incredibly weak, even losing its foothold on the island of Cyprus completely to Templar hands. All the work Altair had done years before to secure it was undone, and he couldn't locate his youngest son Seth that was left behind either. Abbas told him that Malik had killed him, and Abbas had Malik imprisoned. Altair, filled with grief, reflected on why Malik would have killed his youngest son, but determined that he would have never betrayed him. Abbas was lying. Abbas had staged a coup with like-minded assassins 2 years before, had Altair's son killed, and framed Malik for the murder. Altair confronted Abbas with the truth, as his right-hand Swami revealed that he had found Malik and beheaded him. Altair attempted to bargain with Abbas instead of killing him due to the insistence of Maria, but attempting to take control of the Brotherhood from him would have tragic consequences.
Before I executed your son, I told him you ordered it yourself. He died, believing you had betrayed him.
Altair! Altair! No! Strength. Altair.
Maria. He is possessed! Kill him! Take the apple, now!
Filled with anger, Altair briefly considered using the apple to destroy himself and all of those around him, but instead chose to escape, fleeing Masyaf with Darim. The pair escaped to Alamut, the main assassin fortress in Persia, where Al-Mu'allim originated. Altair lived there for years with his son, daughter-in-law, and 2 grandchildren, and Altair fell into such a deep depression and hatred for Abbas that he drove away his son's family, and they left to live in Alexandria, Egypt. Darim traveled to France and England to warn them of the emerging threat of the Mongol Empire, now under control of Genghis Khan's heirs, leaving Altair alone to his thoughts in Persia. But Altair eventually regained himself and began studying the Apple of Eden again, discovering that the fortress of Alamut was built on the remains of an Isu temple. After exploring the insides of the temple, he discovered ancient artifacts capable of recording memories, taking 6 of these seals and recording his most significant memories on 5 of them, and saving 1 for later use. In the year 1247 CE, an 82-year-old Altair traveled back to Masyaf to reclaim the order and bring it to its former glory. On his way back to his old home, Altair found out that the nearby village in Masyaf was heavily taxed and the citizens abused by the assassins, who no longer offered them protection. In essence, behaving just like the Templars they were sworn to fight. Arriving in the village, Altair blended with the villagers and practiced the ways of the Assassin's Creed, helping the villagers and finding those assassins that were still loyal to the old ways, including Tazim, the son of Malik that believed in the Creed, and he knew Abbas was betraying everything it stood for. Altair told him that he was planning on taking control of the order and asked him to rally all of his loyal assassins. After rallying about 20 men, Tazim and the rest of the assassins fought their way to the fortress, and Altair urged them not to kill their brothers, only disarm and incapacitate. As he made his way closer to the fortress, several assassins recognized Altair and refused to harm him, against the order of Abbas. Even the assassins that were loyal to him surrendered, leaving the traitor desperately clinging for power, and Altair introduced him to one of the new weapons he developed with the help of the apple's knowledge.
Would you not do the same?
You corrupted everything we stand for and lost everything we gained. All of it sacrificed on the altar of your own spite.
And you! You have wasted your life, staring into that apple, dreaming of your own glory.
That is true, Abbas. I learned many things from the apple, of life and death, of the past and the future. Let me show you.
After the death of Abbas, Altair once again became mentor of the Levantine assassins. For the next 10 years, Altair built a library underneath the Masyaf fortress where he stored thousands of books, containing all of the knowledge he had gained through the years, and built a door that could only be unlocked by the 5 memory seals he had discovered years before. After the library was completed, he sent his son Darim to invite the Venetian explorers Niccolo Polo and Maffeo Polo to Masyaf. When the explorers arrived, Altair told them the story of his life, which Niccolo would eventually pass on to his son Marco Polo in the form of a journal. And the Polo brothers began understanding the ways of the Assassin Order, and Altair felt that their experience as explorers could be used to spread the Order through the world, even in other countries. Although small guilds of assassin existed in the Middle East and Asian countries, with the Levantine Brotherhood acting as the main branch, it was time for the Order to become more widespread, to counter the growing influence of the Templars. In the year 1257 CE, Masyaf came under surprise attack by the Mongols, vengeance for the assassination of Genghis Khan. The Polo brothers were forced to leave, and Altair gave his completed codex to the explorers, entrusting the future of the Assassin Order to them. He also gave Niccolo Polo the 5 memory seals that he had previously recorded, and asked him to hide them where their knowledge would not fall into the wrong hands. The Polos left on their journey, and Altair evacuated the fortress, knowing it was lost. The Levantine Brotherhood of Assassins was disbanded, as the Masyaf fortress lay in ruin. And after the Mongols left, Altair met with his son outside the library underneath the castle, and initially confused why they were there, came to understand this is the last time he would see his father.
I see. This is not a library at all. It is a vault.
It must stay hidden, Darim, far from eager hands, at least until it has passed on the secret it contains.
What secret?
Go, son. Go be with your family, and live well.
All that is good in me began with you, Father.
At the age of 92, Altair locked himself in the library with the Apple of Eden, imprinting his final memories in the seal he carried, having lived a life full of tragedy, but also one of purpose and preparation for the future. After Altair's death and the destruction of the Levantine Brotherhood, the Polos traveled to the city of Constantinople in the country of Turkey and hid the 5 memory seals Altair had given them. They worked to spread the assassin ideology, and 2 years later, they had a fully operating guild of assassins operating in the region, the Turkish Brotherhood. In the year 1265 CE, Hulagu Khan, the grandson of Genghis Khan and the one responsible for the destruction of Masyaf, was assassinated by Nurgwai, a member of the Mongolian Brotherhood, to avenge his assassin brothers and closing off the story of the Levantine Brotherhood. 4 years later, in 1269 CE, the Polo brothers returned to their home of Venice, Italy, and began working to establish an assassins guild there. And eventually, the pages of Altair's personal journal, the Codex, were ripped and scattered to avoid falling into Templar hands. And the Polos were successful in creating the Italian Brotherhood of Assassins, a branch of the Brotherhood that would become massively important to the Order's future. With the Templar Order and the Assassin Brotherhood growing quickly in Italy, what happens when the Templar Order finds a hidden power deep underneath the Vatican and infiltrates the Church at its highest level? Join me next time for the Assassin's Creed Timeline Part 4, The Auditory Legacy, where we'll see a young assassin from the Italian Brotherhood unleash his rage on the Templars on a quest for revenge, and watch him spend his life uncovering the secrets Altair left behind.